Hello everyone. So back to the part 3, which is March 2022, question number 2. Parul is again with me. Thank you, Parul, for taking our time today once again. So today we have a different approach as compared to yesterday. So yesterday we were going through the questions and we are reading our answers. So initially I thought that that might be kind of showing our thought process, but it is also making a lot of irrelevant points and going through those points. So that might lead to a lot of wastage of time for the audience. So this time what we thought is we would discuss it before and then we'll only kind of point out to the discrepancies or differences or any shortcomings that my answer had. So today we have kind of done that. We have followed that approach, and we have already discussed whatever points. And right now we are going to show where I have lacked and what are the points that probably would require consideration from my side, and uh, that would have made my answer better. So without taking and please comment on what approach you like. Would you like the previous approach where we have kind of gone in more detail, or this approach which we expect would be more crisp? So there would not be a part 4 video, but the entire question 2 can be finished in part 3, and I don't think it will be more than 15 minutes. Last time it was 1 hour video considering both part 1 and part 2. So do leave your comment, and so that will help me to get better in creating content. Okay, moving on. So we'll just go through the question because the question is just a big question. There will be small parts. So there is an appointed. You are the appointed actually of a well-established pair which is operating for 20 years, and it sells all types of products: saving product, term assurance, participating product, etc. The main product that is sold by the company is conventional participating endowment. However, in the recent times, the new business have reduced, although the company that is the major contributor of top line, so that means the renewal business is doing well, but the new business has reduced, and that's why the chief product officer has introduced a new product for which these are the kind of key features. Entry age would lie between 18 to 40, fixed policy term of 20 years, something like that. So one can kind of go through this. And the question is outline the relevant regulation for designing participating life insurance product. So while we are going through this question, I have written this regulation. Now, normally what I do whenever get a question in SA2 is to point out the regulation on which my answer would be based on. But since this is a design question, the answer that would be based on would be non-participant. These are the regulations. However, out of this regulation, non-participating non-link regulation would be the most important product. However, what we have observed is I've completely kind of written the regulation name incorrectly. First of all, this is a participating product. I have written non-participating non-linked product duration. So this is completely a misspelled regulation. It should not be non-participating. It should be only non-linked product regulation 2019. And what we have observed from the suggested solution is these regulations are not relevant. And if you see my answer, I have written non-participating, non-linked product regulation. And because this was one of the regulation that I couldn't remember clearly while attempting the exam. So I have written whatever I could remember, but the length of this regulation is only this. While if you go to the suggested solution, it is completely based on non-linked product regulation 2019, and you can see the length. This is the length, and there is nothing special in this answer. It's already given in the regulation. So someone who has kind of remembered the regulation by heart, that person would be able to write all this point. And I think this is the main reason for which I have scored less mark, because I have kind of also included other regulation. I thought that I have written this answer well, but the only regulation that I should have focused on is the non-linked product regulation. And had I remembered it well, I would have scored good marks because it's a straight, like what we call a bookwork question. But because of lack of that, I have not. I mean, this is the main culprit. Parul, you want to add something here?
I think you've covered all. So basically, this is the main regulation, and I think because you put the headers wrong. So that is something which they noticed the first time they looked at the solution.
Right. Right. So one thing we kind of like one thing I believe is the examiner, because of this is such a serious exam, on the last exam, the examiner nitpicks on your answer. And because I have put the regulation as non-participating non-linked product regulation, and the product itself is participating, so it's very contradictory. How can a participating product has non-participating non-linked regulation? So just happens because of time pressure or lack of presence of mind in that space. But yeah, no excuse. This is the reason. And probably all this regulation that I've written, asset liability, investment regulation, all these are not required, because these are required for the operation of the product and not required for design of the product. So that's why I kind of lost. So I think Parul and myself, both of us rated me as scoring 1 or 0 maybe in this question. And as I mentioned, this is the main reason for which I kind of scored the list mark. Moving on, so evaluate the product design by the chief product officer. So this is a standard question. It's a 15 marks question. But when I was attempting the paper, I by this question I ran into time pressure, and I thought that let me finish the other question which are much shorter, 10 marks question. So let me finish that question, and this question is a standard question. It will not require me much time to kind of generate profit, because we know the structure. It follows from that SP2 or ST2 paper: marketability, profitability, suitableness of the product for the target market, onerousness of guarantee, sensitivity of profit, etc. These are the points that you need to write, and once you write those points, you can easily generate point for those, and you can relate those points to the question given. However, I attempted this paper almost at the end, this question at the end, and when me and Paul was kind of going through this regulation, so I just wrote something which is kind of gibberish. It was not making much sense. As for example, the product appears to follow the regulation, hence there is no regulatory scrutiny that may be expected. I think this is I mean, for such a question, this is not required. This is not going to fetch me any marks. Similarly, I have written the product appears to have no distinguishing feature. It appears as an ordinary participating product, but the product did have a lot of distinguishing feature. There was no reversionary bonus. There was only terminal bonus. There was a time period. So the product did have some distinguishing features. This kind of answer is only written when you run into time pressure. Your brain is not working properly, and you know that you cannot answer this question properly. So that's the thing. And if we go to the suggested solution, there they have followed the structure that I have kind of discussed. It's marketability. You can remember this marketability, and here they have written rest. So they have just put the point and relate those points we in the subheader by relating it to whatever is given in the question. Suitability to meet the customer needs, taxation. This is one point they have linked to the regulation, which I knew, but because of lack of time, I was not able to write anything relevant there. So I think this is obviously I knew that this is the question where I'm not going to get any mark, because I've not written it well. So that was kind of expectation, but I think what me and Parul decided is, once again in this question also I'll get 0 or 1. So that makes us, even at the best case, that will give us 2 marks. So 20 out of 25 marks, I have scored 2 marks only in this question, and this is where the exam is failed by me. 25 marks, and for the remaining 25, no matter what I score, I am always going to fall short of the passing criteria. So time management is very important. That is one takeaway from this. Paul, you want to add anything?
No, maybe we can just go through the main points that we have figured out that what could be included, so that will help others.
Okay. So for marketing, I think the main point was there is a minimum guarantee on reversionary bonus, which is one of the main distinguishing feature. And another point was it might be restrictive for customers who cannot afford to pay single premium for 20 years, because for 20 years it will be large. So maybe it may not be possible for young customers to kind of take this product, which is kind of written here. Young group people may not have the financial ability. I have already covered the taxation point, which is related to the non-linked product regulation. For competition, they have kind of like worked on the distinguishing feature, like the proposed product need to be tested on the expected return. For those wanting the tax benefit, no option to have less than 10 times cover. So I think these are kind of general points. Similarly, for distribution and remuneration, profitability, being a par product, shareholder profit will be 1/9 of the profitability. So that they have stated. So I think the main points was in marketing and in the suitability of customer target. Remaining are kind of generalized point which one can write, and obviously some of the points related to par product, like treating customer fairly. This point would not come in a non-participating product, but this is a point because the product is a par product. So guaranteed bonus may lead to PRE being formed. The company should consider this. It may also set PRE. So this PRE related point, I believe, is also very important because it is a par product. So someone is kind of like following the structure that is given in the book and creating the risk. Anything else you want to add for?
Yeah, apart from this, I think one of the points that we discussed was that as the company is already writing a similar kind of product, so in that case, we discussed that whether it will actually attract the customers or not, and also because there is a guarantee on reversionary bonus, it might have an impact on terminal bonus as well, and that might go against policyholders' expectations. So that might earn some bad publicity for the company.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Varun. So moving on. So right now we know why we have failed the exam, why I failed the exam, and the first two questions are the main reason, right? However, I think when we move on to the third question, which is the chief investment officer suggested the expected maturity benefit under this product can be enhanced if there is no regular reversionary bonus, and the surpluses are distributed only through terminal bonus. So discuss the suggestion, and now both Parul and me felt that I have answered this question very well. So I've kind of first given the general points that this is a change in practice, and because it is a change in practice, it will require an updation in the PPFM, which will require approval from the board and with profits committee. This is as per the regulation, the non-linked regulation. So I have linked this point to the regulation. Also, I have split the question into advantage of the session and disadvantage of the session. In the advantage, I've spoken about the investment freedom and the less capital requirements, the less need for the estate to support the smoothing, and what what the company can do with the extra capital. So mostly those are the points that has been covered here. And for disadvantages, it was obviously it would not meet the policyholder's reasonable expectation. It might be unfair for different generation of policyholders. So this is treating customer fairly, and this is the policyholder reasonable point, I think, which is very important in this case. This is also, I mean, there is no strong reason for the product, the practice to change. So that might initiate some regulatory action. It might not be popular with the policyholder, so there will be a reduction in new business volume. The IT might not be able to make those changes very quickly. So these are the main points, I think. When we go to the suggested solution also covered those points. There are 2 points, I think, which are kind of important and which was not covered. The first point was probably, I think there was a point related to surrender. Yeah, surrendering policyholder will get the present value of the sum assured. Since no bonus is declared, they are not likely to get the fair share of the bonuses due to unless TB is declared in the surrendering policy. So the terminal bonus thing was only declared for the end of the policy. So it was not clear whether if the policyholder surrenders the policy, the terminal bonus will be paid or not, and that might be considered as unfair for the policyholders, which again is a point related to treating customers fairly. For participating product, treating customer fairly, policyholder reasonable expectation. These points are very important. So this is one point that I've not clicked in my head during that time, and I think there is another point that was there.
It's related to shareholders.
What?
So the 11th point.
11th. 11th. Okay. 11th. Policyholder may not like this.
Yeah, it's 21st. Sorry.
21st. This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, maximization. So this means that because they are not giving reversionary bonus, whenever the company pays bonus, the shareholder also get the share of profit. But if they stop giving the reversionary bonus, then the shareholder would not be getting the bonuses or the profit share, and they will also be getting it when the terminal bonus will pay. So this is the main purpose of the company is to maximize profit for shareholder, and by this approach, the shareholder will not get the benefit. So I think these are 2 points which are important. But in any case, I think I have covered almost all of the points. May have written something extra as well in some place here and there. So I believe that for out of this 10 marks, I'll get 7 marks. Any extra point that you have, Parul?
No, related to this only,
So,
the shareholders only, the policyholders will take additional risk by only accepting the terminal bonus. So in that case, also some part of that profit will pass on to policyholders. So that will further reduce shareholders' profit. So that's a question then whether it is even beneficial overall for the company or not, because shareholders' profit will reduce, and in some way policyholder might not be happy with the fact that there's a higher risk.
right. So what Parul is saying is there would be no reversionary bonus, so policyholder will expect higher proportion of terminal bonus, and if higher proportion of terminal bonus is kind of given, the shareholder might get lower share, and that once again is going against the principle of company to maximize the profit for the shareholder, which is a once again that is, I mean, this method can cause problem for both the policyholder. The policyholder will be unhappy because they would not be seeing any bonuses until the policy expires or matures. Shareholder would also have to wait for a long time. So it's just that the profit realization of profit would be deferred, and that's why it's kind of it will create challenge, right?
And one point maybe as uh, as the brokers and individual agents are selling this product, it might also be a risk for the company that this change is not communicated properly to the
Reputation.
policyholders before selling the policy.
Yeah, I think I have covered it somewhere in there. There would be a reputational damage I have written. I think in this that answer also there is written. But I think yeah, I think overall this answer is kind of pretty much well written by me.
Yeah.
So overall I should get 7 marks. So now out of I think 35, I'm getting 7 or 9. So we can see that why I have not cleared this paper. Moving on, which is the discuss the operational risk of the company and find ways to monitor and manage risk. Now, when I came here, I was under kind of severe time crunch, and I completely missed this portion, the ways to monitor and manage risk, this and portion. So this question is of 2 parts, describe various operational risks and the ways to monitor and manage the operational risk. Now, only after I was kind of finishing this answer, I realized that there is a second question, a second portion to it, and that's why you'll see. So and I don't remember how the operational risk was kind of covered in the book. So I decided to take a different approach, which is a generalized sort of approach. I didn't follow the bookish approach there, but I believe I've written the answer in like in a good structure. I kind of relate first to the change in the practice because of that change in participating product bonus distribution. So this is the point where I've kind of related to that point, that you are changing the product calculation, so there might be error in calculation of the asset share, and there might be regulatory action, there might be differences or error in declaration of the bonus. So that is the point that I've covered here. Also, this company is a newly product, and in newly product there are a lot of chances that there might be something might be going wrong. The management box might be not working properly. There might be incorrect assignment of units when money flows in. Then there will be no non-negative unit reserve may have been zeroized, may not have been zeroized, which will go against the regulation. So because ULIP is a complex product, there are a lot of areas where you can go wrong, and that is the point that I've tried to make. And next, I have moved department wise. So first of all, the challenges that we faced in NB and underwriting. So when the this is mainly related to the issue of the policy and when the new business comes in. Secondly, I moved into operational challenges, policy servicing, and thirdly operational challenges, claims. So I moved department wise, where the operation, like the main operational crux of an insurance company would be new business, policy servicing, and claims. And I've tried to kind of segregate what are the areas that in which the company can go wrong. So if you just consider the operational risk portion, I think this is well written, and that will go to the suggested solution in a bit, but that also kind of covers the same thing. Where I have kind of lacked is the managing operational risk. However, the answer that I wrote is like the whatever small points I could have given was that is kind of making sense. So I put the maker checker concept, which is part of. Then I put the that this is also part of three line defense, which is a very important concept in insurance. I mentioned about the internal audit. Then there would be. I have also mentioned about the external auditors. So basically, this answer is centered on the three line of defense. The first would be maker and checker of the first line of defense. Second would be the internal audit, and third is the external auditor. So that is exactly the way we manage operational risk in our normal practical scenario. And we also assign risk scorecard and assign risk score to different areas, and that area can be very risk on, but it may not be that important for the company, so it will have a lower risk score. Area can be very I mean, there can be very minor chance of making any error, but that can be very significant area, and that would have higher risk score. So that is the risk scorecard. I know this because I have worked in the operation domain for 2 years, so that's why I kind of. So whatever point I've written is, I think those are strong points. It's just that because of the lack of time, I was not able to write it, like write more points. I could have easily written around 10 points here, because it is a 10 marks question. So 5 marks would be here, 5 marks would be in the operation risk. So in the operation risk, I might get 3 marks, but in the managing the operation risk, I will only get 1 or 2. So once again, the key takeaway from this question is also that the time pressure, like the how time management is important. Now moving on to the suggested answer is, so they have followed the bookish language. Operation risk can be, so first of all they have defined the operation risk, then conduct risk. So conduct risk is where errors can happen, that is they expose us to like wherever the people are not following the appropriate conduct or appropriate whatever we can call it SOP, standard operating procedure. And then there is model risk, which is relates to the use of incorrect model, the financial impact, and all of this have been covered by me as well in some sense or the other, as I move department wise. So unit pricing error, I have already mentioned the unit pricing error there. I think what they have done better is to, for each of the risks, they have written ways to kind of manage those risks, and I have written a single point on managing the risk. So that's why I think, as I mentioned, it's just that the because I have seen that second part later, I would have scored much less mark. So I think both Parul and me has rated myself as scoring only. I mean, I think 4 marks, right? Four marks in this out of 10. Any point, Parul? Any extra point?
No, I think you have covered it all.
Okay. So then moving on to the last question, right? So right now I have scored either 11 or 13, and 45 marks have passed. So out of 45, I have scored only, let's just go by the lower mark only, say I have scored only 11, right? So I, by this point, obviously it's quite clear that I'm failing the exam. Right now, the last question is, due to the ongoing pandemic, the staffs have been working from home, which is a general situation in all over India. And the chief risk officer is of the opinion that the ongoing pandemic and the work from home has increased operation risk in the company. Outline how the ongoing pandemic and work from home result in increase in operation risk. Now, if I see the answer, because I have run into some time pressure, the entire answer is focused on how it is like mentally, how mentally the employee would be stressed, and because of that they would make errors. So if you see my answer, the maker checker may not act completely independently, and there might be tendency to hide errors. If the family members are affected or employees affected, chances of error increases. A lack of human element, forgotten, tend to cause and causing further errors. So I think I was not able to write an unit, like I was able to write only a answer in one direction. I could not give it another direction. Like there might be points related to IT, there might be points related to, I mean, audit, or whatever. There might be several other directions from which I could have approached the question, but because of lack of time, your brain stops thinking. and then whatever generalized point you can think of, you just write just to cover the points, because there are 5 mark questions. It's kind of in our head that we have to cover 10 points or 11 points, and that is the thing that I've tried to do. But when we go to the suggested solution, I think the suggested solution is written very well, much better as compared to what I have written there. So first point is they have connected to the intermediaries relying on video call, or also even in the. So this is something, if you are thinking through it with proper time, I think you can write very good answer, because this is something that we have felt in our day-to-day life. If you are working, you have faced all those issues. Internet not working, the IT system has to pass the laptop to the employees, there might be a change in address, there might not be so many laptops that are available, there might be a. I think this is a very good point related to possibility of data breaches, like, because it is you are working in home, anyone can take a picture of some sensitive data and pass it on. There might be internet failure, that so that might be a challenge. And there are a few points here which are kind of which looked irrelevant to both of us, like teams which have access to the admin system, IT system. So this point has already been covered. Approvals required for the documents which earlier required physical signatures. I think this is not a strong point at all. So couple of points here which are not that relevant, maybe from 9 to 13. These points are not very well written, but there are a few points which are kind of written, and they are written from different dimensions. They are not unidimensional like I have written. And finally, they have mentioned about the business continuity plans, which is something that, I mean, all of the companies kind of updated, and they kind of mentioned some reference to that. So I think in this 5 mark question, I would also get 1 mark or 2 marks. So this entire question is kind of, uh, I mean, has faced the time crunch issue. So because I have taken more time in probably answering question number 1, or maybe probably answering the first question, and even that, then the first question was kind of, I have not got many marks in that question. So what that has caused is I missed the 15 marks question, and other than one question, all of the other questions are kind of, I because of the time crunch, one question I was not able to read properly, so I didn't recognize there are 2 areas. And in the last question, I think I was not able to generate points because of the mental stress and not write proper points. Any further observation, Pawan?
Yeah, in the last question, I think because of time crunch, some of the points got repetitive as well.
Right. In my answer, I think that's what I mentioned. I've written unidimensional answer, so it was focused on only one point, and it was related to mental stress and making errors.
Yeah.
So that's why all of the points are kind of in similar line instead of thinking from different angles. So yeah, I think everything. So the failure of last question can be attributed to the time crunch that I have, and if I have to do well, I think I have to manage time better. So I think overall, I think for the first question, the summary that I had, or the key takeaways that I had was, for the first question, I mean, I think I was able to generate a lot of decent points and good points. However, I was not able to relate to the question, like especially for the bigger questions, which are 14 marks, 15 marks question. I have put generalized point, and I have not related to the questions. That is, like, there was a question on group term life, and there was a COVID related question. So I have not related back to the group term life or COVID. And what I've observed or seen in the smaller questions, they are kind of writing more points. They, instead of relating to that particular point that is given, they are giving a gamut of points. So the relation building relation to the question is probably more important for bigger questions, so that you don't go astray of your topic. However, in the shorter question, you require to relate, and you also need to show the other scenarios. And in the second question, the key takeaway is the time crunch. Because I've taken more time in one question, I have not answered the second question well, and also because one of the regulation I have not memorized those regulation. So I need to kind of understand and memorize those regulations so that this, if similar question comes, it would not impact me. And obviously time management was the key takeaway from the had the time management better, even without answering that 10 marks question, or even if I got 1 mark or 2 mark in that 10 mark question, in the other question I could have got at least I could have got more than 13 or 12 that have ended up scoring. So I think what would have happened is, in the first question I would have got 20 marks because of lack of relating to the main question, like I mean the main points that are given in the question. And in the second question I would have got 12 marks. That would have given me 32 marks. And I mean, yeah, so if I have to kind of pass the exam, first of all I need to relate. For the bigger question, for the smaller question I need to give more scenarios instead of just relating to the point that is given. And I have to manage my time. I think these are the three key takeaways that I had. And if someone else have their question paper and someone else want to discuss something on their question paper or related to SA2, because right now the theme for this channel is SA2 only, then they are welcome to write in comments so I can do that. Any change in the way that I've analyzed the question, anyone, if any there is any feedback, or if there is any feedback related to how I attempted the question, and like Parul just gave a valuable feedback, so please feel free to write it. We all make mistake and we all become better after learning from our mistake. So this is, this is the question analysis, and I got to learn many things. And next, I will carry on with a couple of chapter related to SA2. Now in IAI, all the chapters that is given in SA2 is not important. So right now, I have the first chapter I'm going to target would be asset liability management. As there are a couple of things that are very unclear for many people, as for example, stochastic distribution. What is stochastic? What is simulation? What are scenarios? I think 90% of people in actual probably have a confusing idea about that. Then there is some concept called risk neutral scenario and real life scenario. What is the difference between the two? How can you easily remember that? Derivatives, etc. So these are the points that are given in that chapter. And I think I will take that chapter next and create a video on that. Then moving on, I'll probably go to capital management or analysis of surplus, embedded value. And as I do one chapter, I'll also take out the relevant regulation for that and go for the, like, explain the regulation in a separate video. Maybe one video would be for the chapter, one video would be for the regulation. And I'll memorize the regulation and I'll try to kind of relate it in the video. So that's how I plan to approach this. So remaining week would be mostly on chapter and the regulation. And yeah, that's how I'm going to plan, and hopefully by. So thanks everyone. Thanks for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe. Yesterday I posted in LinkedIn, and I got very good response. So thanks for that, and thanks once again, Parul, for taking your time out.
Yeah, no issues. Thank you, Arpan, for calling me.
Okay. Thanks everyone.